Hello and welcome to Baking with Miss Meow. Today is day 2 of the 30-day baking challenge. Today we're going to be baking the Copycat recipe of the Starbucks Petite vanilla scones. So I'm really excited to try this out. I haven't made it before. I had a request from my nephew to make these, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. Here are the ingredients for the vanilla scones. We have all-purpose flour, white pure cane sugar, baking powder, heavy whipping cream, salt, a 3.4 ounce box of the instant vanilla pudding, unsalted butter, an egg, and a vanilla bean. I also have a pastry blender, and the pan we'll be using is a cookie sheet. I usually like to go ahead and get my ingredients ready ahead of time so I can just toss it all in. For this recipe, it wants you to have a scraped vanilla bean. So you kind of just scrape out the insides. I also did this on my vanilla tutorial. This vanilla bean is way more soft than the other one that I had for the tutorial. So you squish it out and then you're going to go back through and cut it open and then scrape the bean that way as well. So you're going to just kind of feel like I'm doing surgery here. It will cut. Here we go. Okay. This is too soft. There we go. So even though I squished out the insides, there's still quite a bit left in there. I can just cut it this way now. There we go. If you want to get the most, you can also use a spoon to do it. That really scrapes it out. Let's see. So you're going to just push it out that way as well. And then you can see all that extra there. And then you can see how clean the vanilla bean is. So I'm going to go ahead and do this side and then do this whole bean here. First thing it wants me to do is whisk together the flour and the sugar. 2 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2. So I'm going to whisk that together real quick. And then it wants me to put the butter in and use my pastry cutter to get the butter mixed in with the dry stuff and until it looks like little crumbs. Now I'm going to add in the vanilla pudding. And the directions say don't overmix the original mixture with the dry and the butter because then it'll be too doughy, so you don't want to overwork the dough. And it also says if you wanted to make a different flavor of scones, just use a different flavor of pudding. But for this video we're doing vanilla, so pouring in, and then I'm going to whisk it together and move on to the next step. One thing I didn't do was the salt, so I just added the salt, mix it in. You definitely want to have salt because that brings out the flavors of just all the flavors, like the vanilla and whatever other flavors you want in there. Then it says to make a well in the middle. So you basically, what I do is take a spatula and kind of just dig around a little hole. Then it wants you to add the vanilla I already had it scraped, so I'll just kind of put it in there. Then you're gonna also add the egg and the heavy cream. And make sure that egg goes right in the middle of the well. And then the heavy cream. Then you're gonna mix it together. And to stir this, you don't use your spatula anymore. It says incorporate it gently with a fork. So you kind of just want to mush it and do it just until the dough is just wet. Another thing I forgot to add was the baking powder, which is important because then it'll make sure it rises. So I went ahead and did that. And now it says bring the dough together in your hands, and you're gonna place it on a lightly floured surface. So I'm gonna work this in and make it into the dough that I want. I got the ball all mixed up, and now it says to cut it in half. And then what you want to do is squish it down and cut up each half into 8 triangles. And it's kind of crumbling apart, but that's probably because I added the baking powder when the butter was already incorporated in there. So kind of messed up, but hopefully it still turns out. We'll find out together. Now that I have my dough all squished down, I'm going to cut it with a pizza cutter. Let's see. It wants 8 triangles. So if I go maybe like that. Might not be the best triangles. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, we're gonna have, let me see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, perfect. Then it wants you to, with the heavy whipping cream, brush the surface and kind of just get it covered. Then you're going to put it onto the prepared baking sheet with the parchment paper. For the frosting, they want powdered sugar, vanilla extract or vanilla bean, and heavy cream. I have the powdered sugar in here. Now I'm just going to add the 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. It's not quite, there we go. I'll dip it in there. Okay, now I'm going to do this, kind of mix it a little bit, and then it says if you want, depending on how thick or thin you want the icing, that's how much heavy cream you add. She said she wanted it a bit thinner so she could dip the scones in the icing. The buzzer went off again. Oh, that looks way better. I think those are pretty good looking. And it says to let them cool completely before you frost them. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other scones in now. Another thing, I think I made these too thin. I wasn't sure when I made these how much they would rise or anything. So I wanted to make sure there was enough room on the pan. For next time, I think I would make the dough a little bit thicker. That way they'd look more scone-like. Looking at these now, some of them are kind of too big. And they're not super pretty looking. Probably because I didn't use a rolling pin. So I'm just going to cut it in half and it should be fine. And then it'll be more mini anyway. Oop. So I'm going to do that to all the big ones we have. Looking at the frosting now, it's pretty thick. I might want to add more heavy cream, but I'm going to try to do a couple of scones first. The lady said she just, you know, I'm gonna get maybe I'll get a spatula. Anyway, she said she just dipped the top in and kind of dipped it. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So it came out nice and even and perfectly thick. So we're gonna, after I do them all, I'm going to put them in the fridge and let the frosting kind of harden up a little bit. Again, like I said, if I made them again, I would definitely make the triangles thicker. So that way I could have more smaller triangles and thicker. That way they would be more scone-like. But all in all, these turned out pretty good. That one's really pretty. So I just finished the scones. I took them out of the refrigerator after about 15 minutes. They're really soft and delicious. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I'd like to compare them to the actual Starbucks scones and see if they make any difference or better or worse or whatever. But this was really fun learning how to make scones. It was nice to experiment. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video and yeah, come back. Thanks for watching. Bye.